Hi guys, and welcome back to EasyPy 3. In this lesson we'll continue to look at lists in Python. Now that you know what methods are, let's look at list methods. We will start by assigning an empty list to a variable. Now we can use the append method to add things to the list. It can be any data type, but as you can see, it always adds to the end. If you want to specify where to add it in the list, you have to use the insert method. The first argument is the location, and the second argument is the value that you want to insert. Note that everything else gets shifted to the right. You can sort the list by using the sort method. The result will be in an ascending order. Now there are three ways to delete a value. One you already know is the delete instruction. The other two are the remove and pop method. Remove is different from the other two in that it actually searches for the value and not the index. Also, it deletes the first match that it finds in order of the list. The pop method works in the same way as delete. It uses the index. However, as you can see here, it returns the value you've removed, whereas the delete instruction doesn't. There are more list methods, but you should now have an idea of how to use them. Okay, now I want to show you something special about the list variables. In the variables lesson, we spoke about how you can assign an old variable to a new variable, and in the container analogy, that's the same as putting another label on it. Normal variables only refer to the data, so if you do anything with the second variable, it won't affect the first variable. For our container, that means the name's taken off the old one and put onto a new container. We can confirm this with the id function. As you can see, at the start, both of them had the same ID. But when we made any changes, the ID changed. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If we assign a list to X and assign X to Y, then if we delete a value from Y and check the Y list, we get the values as expected. However, if we check the X list, we get the same as Y. Now this shows that when you assign a new variable to a list, it's the name that is being copied, not the content. Keep this fact in mind or you can run into issues when writing programs. So what if we want to make a copy? How do we do that? Well, there are a few ways to achieve this. The first way is to simply use the copy method. You can also use the list function. But what I want to focus on is slices. We looked at them briefly in part 1 of lists when discussing ranges. To make a copy of a list's content, you simply put a semicolon inside empty square brackets. If you leave the starting value, it will start as 0. And if you leave the end value, it will go to the end of the list. Slices can be with negative index too. And remember, the index after the colon is not included. You can use the delete instruction to remove a range or empty list. If you don't put the slice, it will delete the variable. Finally, let's look at a way to join and multiply list values. You can join a list in a few ways. The most straightforward is to use the plus operator. You can also use the extend method. You can also multiply the list using the asterisk operator. And that's all for this one. All the list methods have been provided in the resources folder, so do make sure you download the PDF and have a read. When you're ready, do the practice coding exercise to make sure you've understood the things taught in this lesson.